Okay, we're going to get started with exercise 1.1, exploring HTML and CSS. For those who are in class this week, this is very similar to what we did together as a group, but this time you'll get the opportunity to go over the exercise by yourself. First thing you want to do is go ahead and go to the class GitHub repository. Keep in mind that this is where we're going to be storing everything for the class this semester. So make sure you go to this repository, and if you don't already, bookmark it by clicking the start button here. This will just make it easier for you to find the repository anytime you're in GitHub. If you're not logged in already, make sure that you're actually signed in to GitHub. Everything you do is going to require you to be logged in. So the exercise is going to be in Unit 1, so you can go to Unit 1 by clicking this link or just by clicking the link here in the main README. And again, we're going to be doing Explore HTML and CSS. The slides from class are here, and now this is the video that you're watching. So for this video, we're going to do exactly the same thing that we did in class, but you're going to be going over it on your own. The first thing you'll want to do is to create the assignment. I've created some starter code, but you need to make your own copy of it. In order to do that, you're going to click this link that says the link to assignment repository. And if you click the link, you may have to go through the screen to authorize Classroom for GitHub, or possibly you don't need to do it because you've done it already in class. So once you click the link and you authorize, you're going to see this message. You're ready to go. And it's going to say your assignment has been created here. You'll see a GitHub repository with more exploring dash whatever your username is. Go ahead and click that link. And that link will now take you to a repository that's yours. So this is really your copy of the code. So now you have your copy of the code in GitHub. We need to get it over to Cloud9 so that you can actually code. So in order to do that, you need to copy this link. This is the link that you're going to use to get your code inside Cloud9. So hit this copy to clipboard button, and then go ahead and open Cloud9. So Cloud9 is going to be at c9.io. That's the URL for Cloud9. You may want to bookmark that. When you get here, sign in with GitHub. To sign in with GitHub, you always click the GitHub icon. And then once you've signed in with GitHub, you'll see any repositories here that you have from the past. Most of you should have this repository, which we worked on together in class. You're going to go ahead and create a new workspace. This time, let's call it More Exploring. Doesn't really matter what you call it. Make sure that it's a public workspace so that you can share your homework with me when you're done. And then in this part that says clone from Git, this is where we want to make a copy from GitHub. You're going to paste that link that you grabbed from GitHub. Again, you need to get the link from here. This link should have GitHub, Athena Digital Design, more-exploring your username, but you want to get the link here. And this link ends with .git. And then once you have the link there, you hit custom and go ahead and hit create workspace. Now creating your workspace sometimes takes a while. It just really depends. It can happen in as little as 30 seconds or as long as a few minutes. So while my workspace is getting created, I'll say a couple of other things about the tools that we've been using so far, GitHub and Cloud9. So GitHub is a website that allows developers to store code and to work on code together. So we're going to be using GitHub a lot, but think of GitHub really as a code storage mechanism. Cloud9 is an integrated development environment. So Cloud9 is the place where we actually write our code and we develop our code. So we're going to write and develop our code in Cloud9, and then we can store it on GitHub, especially if you want to share it with other people. For the most part, we're not going to be doing a ton of sharing in this class, so you'll be mostly just using GitHub to get sample starter code that I've created for you. Okay, so now my Cloud9 workspace is created, and you can see the folder has two files in it. Go ahead and click index.html. You'll see this HTML page, and if you click styles.css, you'll see a CSS page. Now, the the way to see what this website actually looks like is to go into index.html, click Preview, and Live Preview File. What this does is it opens the site in a new column here. I find it kind of confusing to be looking at the preview in a small space like this, so I almost always hit this button, which pops out the preview into a separate window. I just think this is much more pleasant to do, and I don't mind going back and forth, so I recommend you do this as well. And then once you've done that, you can actually close this, and this allows you to look at your code in full. So what we've got here is an HTML page and a CSS page. Another trick that I like when I'm coding is to actually use two columns, and so that I can look at my HTML and my CSS at the same time. The way to do that is to go up to View, and here in Layout, you can go ahead and do a cross split. Actually, a cross split gives you too many, but we can close these two bottom ones. And so now you see that my screen is split into two, so I can take the styles.css file and drag it into the second one. And what this just allows me to do is to look at my HTML and my CSS at the same time. And this is just visually, I find a lot easier to work with. So now you're looking at the HTML file and the CSS file for this page, and you're seeing what the page looks like. So what I want you to do is to make some changes to this page. So the changes that you want to make to this page are going to be available in GitHub. So if you start that repository like I asked you to, it should be fairly easy to find the repository that you're looking for. You just want to go to your class repository. So let me just close this, and so if you see here on my profile, I've got my starred repositories. So I'll go to the class repository, I'll find this exercise, and so here are all the changes I want you to make. It's just a couple of bullet points of changes to the site. So changing some text, changing some links, changing colors. Feel free to make more changes than that. So one thing to keep in mind as you're making your changes is that you do have to save. So for example, let me make this a little bit bigger so that you can see it better on the video. If you notice the site has a couple of links here, instead of home, if I wanted to change this to home page, I could come here and write home page. And Cloud9 doesn't always autosave, so make sure that you're hitting Command S or Control S, and you'll see this note here, all changes saved. And then I should be able to refresh this page, and you see that it says home page instead of home. So that's how you make changes to your site. Once you've made all the changes, feel free to explore and go further. You're going to want to submit your homework, and the way to submit your homework is you're going to submit a link here to this preview site. So go ahead and submit a link to the preview. It's going to be preview c9users.io, your username, moreexploreindex.html, and this is the link that you're going to submit for your homework. And where to submit it? It's going to be listed here in GitHub. So for this exercise, just go ahead and make sure that you read through GitHub, watch the video, do all of these changes, and then submit it. Should be fairly straightforward. And if you have any questions, make sure that you let me know or let your classmates know in Slack.